This is Alan Weinkrantz for the Rackspace Startup Program reporting on Geek Time. This is Nick Longo, and you and I have known each other for many years. We're here at South by Southwest, actually in a room at TechStars. Give us a little bit of background about you.
Well, I'm the founder of Coffee Cup Software, so I created some of the first web design software. Then went on to work at Rackspace in the marketing department, helped launch the Rackspace Cloud, and then founded Geekdom, which is now the largest co-working space in Texas.
So you're here at South by, but in advance of being at South by Southwest, you are helping some companies from around the world. You do mentoring. Tell us about the experience.
Well, so I'm coaching 4 teams at the South by Southwest Accelerator this year.
Yeah.
This is my 3rd year actually coaching the teams. This year's been really interesting because I have one team from Latvia. So, you know, we do the email thing and Skype, but what's really interesting this year is a lot of devices and a lot of Internet of Things. I mean, this year, 3 of the 4 teams I have are devices, and last year was all software. The year before that was all software. So I kind of see this change in South by, where the devices are coming out, which is awesome because this is my favorite part.
And describe, what do you think are some of the challenges and also the opportunities for a startup far, far, far away?
See, here's what I like about startups that are across the pond, so to speak, is that they have a hunger and a passion, and they have to work even harder to get their messaging out. Their products have to be really great, and they usually are. See? So they don't get to wallow in mediocrity. They have to actually create really good shit.
Okay.
And that's my favorite. That's my favorite part about teams across the pond.
Okay. And when you're dealing, how do you deal with the remote time zones, work weeks, holidays?
Well, you know, at the end of the day, if a team needs help, then I'm going to stay up till midnight, 1 a.m.
Yeah.
I'm going to do what it takes so that we can match our time zones, that we can communicate the right way. I mean, you know, I have to be creative sometimes, so it's email and it's Skype, or we're using Hangouts. You know, we're using something that we're facilitating the conversation. Or in, you know, one of the cases, one of the teams, there's a middleman, so we're actually middlemaning through. So they'll send the script to her, she'll send the script to me, I'll send the script back, and just because now I'm using someone else's time. But it's been working really well.
Okay. And what are some suggestions, you know, especially what I see with the, as you call them, across the pond, is great technology, but sometimes not quite on message. Sometimes, you know, they're writing to a global audience, the communication side of all this.
Yeah, so I think it really comes down to sticking with all the primaries that I like to talk about, right? Like, what problem are you solving? Who's your customer? How are you going to market it? How are you going to sell it? And you know, what is your noble cost, right? The things that matter. I think that translates across all startups.
Right.
And as long as I stay on point, then I think I can mentor, advise them to stay on point. Okay. So that we're not drifting off into things where I'm like, wow, I only think that your country would understand that, right?
Yeah.
So we just try to, you know, I mean, I think if you're going to mentor or advise teams that are not from here, or vice versa, you know, understanding where they're going to get their money from is important. Understanding who their customer is really important.
Yeah.
Because, you know, if they're only selling in their country, well, that's a completely different messaging to, hey, I want to sell globally. And it all depends on their locality and what they're doing. And so, mentoring teams from anywhere, I mean, you know, my advice to anybody who wants to mentor or advise, you know, you better be on your toes.
Okay. And what are some tips in making the most use of a mentor? I'm far, far away. Someone introduces me to you or someone like you. What's the best way to...
You know, Alan, a really good question. I kind of believe, like, if somebody says something like, maybe I should ask somebody about this. As soon as you think that you should ask somebody about this, then you should ask somebody about this, right? And reaching out, whether you have great LinkedIn connections, whether you have Twitter connections, whether you have any kind of connections, you can reach out, because I also feel like almost everyone is a mentor. I mean,
right.
You know, if you're asking a large group of people and you end up with an answer that's like, okay, 80% of the people said that I should probably think about this direction, then that's the direction you should go in. But for me, it's like, if you think you need to ask the question, then you already know the answer. You should have asked the question. Don't just sit and go, oh, I'll just do it this way.
Okay.
You know?
And vice versa, as a mentor, what inspires you, or what makes you think, hey, these guys are great to work with? What's the best way? Okay, so once we agree that, you know, I want to, you'll work with me as a startup from wherever. How can I be the most efficient startup to make the most of your time, the most of your expertise, and that I'm not a pain in the butt, and that you want to keep helping me?
Oh, yeah, that's really okay. So clarity of what I'm best at. So when I meet with startups, I do all kinds of stuff. I can talk about business models. I can talk about stuff, but you know, there's certain expertise like marketing expertise and branding expertise that I'm probably better at. So when I mentor, I suggest that you have more than one. You should have a group of mentors that can help you.
Okay.
And that each of them has, you know, either overlap, but they should have specialization. So for me, when I'm working with startups, I try to stick with marketing and branding, and probably cheerleading and energy, because I'm kind of trying to be the cheerleader too. But I try to stick in that expertise as long as we don't sway from that. Don't, you know, like if we want to talk heavy tech cloud, we want to talk heavy tech computing and just data, and I'm not your guy.
Right. I always say, I know what I don't know.
Right. And I know what I don't know.
Yeah.
So if you know what you don't know, it's better to tell a team, this is what I'm good at.
Right.
This is what I'm not good at. Right? Because as a mentor, no bullshit in mentoring. Right? That's the best thing to, that's the best way to approach it. Just go in and say, here's how I can help you and here's how I can't. And if you see a gap, say, you should probably talk to somebody who can handle that.
Okay, great. And the best way to find you, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook?
You can find me everywhere. Just do a search for Nick Longo.
Nick or Nicholas? Which is okay. So
Nick
it's
Longo and find me. Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook. It's all Nick Longo. So just do a search, find me, become friends. We'll talk.
Great. Thank you. This is Alan Weinkrantz for the Rackspace Startup Program, reporting for Geek Time.